Any questions, please? Our makeshift arrangement is not here either, Mr. Salim. Yes, please.
This is a certain question which has been agitating my mind for some time, you see, but I couldn't dare to ask you to elucidate on the point.
Most of your questions are of that nature which you dare not ask,
I dare not ask.
But do ultimately decide to ask.
Because there's nobody else.
Yes.
Yesterday, while discussing, you see, you said that if we analyze, the different sections are fundamentally different. Different sections of Islam are fundamentally different. Right. Taking cue from that, if I deduce that if anything can be interpreted in so many ways that ultimately it rests with one's intelligence to find the truth, then everybody has a different level of intelligence. And it's difficult to reach the truth.
It's difficult to reach the truth.
Yes.
So what? Doesn't make any difference. If that statement of yours is taken to be entirely correct,
Yeah.
even then there is not any difference whatsoever as far as the future of man is concerned. I answered this question once before, although this question was put in a different way. The fact is that religious truth is not only an absolute truth, in a way it is also a relative truth. The Holy Quran lays stress upon taqwa. If you reach a conclusion while searching for truth in religion and reach that conclusion honestly, according to your own best information, then even if you have missed the truth, as far as you are concerned, you are safe with Allah. There is nothing wrong with you. So at every stage, in every society, there is this guiding principle which gives assurance to a man that if you are not distorted, if you are true to yourself, then whatever truth you understand would be acceptable to Allah. This is exactly the message of that incident which took place while Hazrat Moses, peace be upon him, was passing by, and he heard a shepherd talking to his God. "Oh my Lord, if I could have you as my guest, I would take thorns out of your feet, I would wash your dirty clothes, I'll pick the lice and kill," and this and that. So Moses became very angry. He shouted at him, "Oh, you nonsense, what are you talking? Allah is not something like you are, who would be dirty, who would have thorns in his feet and this and that. So stop this nonsense." And Allah became very angry with him, with Moses, peace be upon him, and said, "Who were you to interfere between me and my lover?" So this is what Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam has explained as "Ana inda zanne abdi bi." I'm according to everybody's concept of me. What is fundamental in this is the truth of the person who has the concept. If it's not out of artificiality, if it's not out of ill will or any malintention on the part of a seeker of truth, and he finds himself in the search of truth at a certain place, he is right as far as that is concerned. He is in the light. Now this is exactly how you find the journey of the scientists to the present day truth. Although at each stage the scientist was in light compared to the rest of the people around him. When Galileo declared the universe to be of certain type and nature, he was right. But looking back to him from the time of Einstein, let's say Newton, he knew very little truth. He was almost false in everything he had reached by way of conclusion. because the available instruments with him were very poor and very primitive, and the concept of the universe which he derived, although was much grander than the previous concepts, but was not what you could call a truth. Yet he carried the light for his age. And suppose this had happened in religion, would you think such a man would go to hell for not telling the truth of 2 centuries beyond? Not at all. So it is Allah who is going to dispense justice, not a human being with a limited knowledge. So everybody is safe. The one most important fundamental rule is that you should be true. Whether you get to the truth or not, that is irrelevant, as long as you are true. If you are true, then Allah will treat you like a true man. After his second question, please.
Would I be right if I infer this explanation that if somebody who believes in the Trinity but believes honestly, a man who worships an idol worships honestly with full faith in it?
So if Allah is the judge, what is bothering you?
Why should I go to him and try to convert him to Islam?
I say, if Allah is judge, then it shouldn't bother you. But you should be your judge, your own judge. If you think this is truth, then it is your duty, if you are true, to spread the truth. Why are you behaving like Allah? Behave like a man.
No, sir.
What I said was that if you are true to yourself, then Allah will treat you like a true person. So if you honestly believe in the truth, then you must spread that truth, or you are not true to yourself.
Exactly, that was the point, sir.
Yes.
That if I am true to my faith, I must spread it.
That's right, yes. Otherwise you will not be true yourself. Yes, please.
Assalamualaikum. I have just moved house to Durnsford Road, which is near the Wimbledon Mosque there. And a few times I have gone there to say my prayers.
Where?
In Wimbledon, in Durnsford Road.
I see.
And an Ahmadi brother has told me we are not allowed to go and say prayers there.
That's right, yes.
I would like to have an explanation on that issue.
When did you get converted to Ahmadiyyat? How long ago?
I would say 6 years ago, approximately.
And during that period, nobody has told you so far about this?
Yes, they have told me, but I have never been satisfied with that answer.
I see. The fact is that as far as the choice of Imam is concerned, unless you first understand the prerogatives of the Imam, you can't understand the question you have asked. An Imam's will is imposed on all those who follow him. Whatever he does and says and intends, that is supposed to be the saying and the doing and the intention of all those who follow him. So much so that if the Imam is saying the Asr prayer and you think it is the Zuhr prayer and you have not yet said the Zuhr prayer, you join that Imam, and when you turn, ultimately your prayer would turn out to be an Asr prayer, not a Zuhr prayer. So you are completely helpless behind an Imam, and this is a lesson of religious leadership. It's not just a futile exercise. So if an Imam has rejected the Imam appointed by Allah, how would a person who has accepted the Imam appointed by Allah would say his prayer behind him, and his prayer would be his own individual prayer? It cannot happen. His prayer be that of a rejection first, because the Imam who is leading the prayer has rejected the Imam appointed by Allah. This is the only fundamental thing to be understood. Whether the person whom you have accepted is really and truly appointed by Allah as an Imam of the world or not. If Allah has appointed an Imam and somebody rejects him, how can you accept that Imam? He is no Imam at all. Because the moment you reject the appointment of Allah, then you cease to exercise the right to lead others.
Huzur, I agree entirely with your point, Huzur. But you just said earlier in an earlier statement that we should not do the judgment ourselves. I have been to that mosque, I have said my prayers behind that imam.
But why do you misunderstand
May I
me?
please finish my statement?
No,
Huzur?
first rectify that statement you are attributing to me.
Yes.
When I said, I did not say that you not make judgment. I never said it. I said, don't behave like Allah.
Yes.
Try to behave like human being and judge as human being, not as God.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes. Okay, I'll accept that.
Okay, now you continue with you.
If I innocently, I just saw a mosque any place.
Innocently, not knowing that he is an Ahmadi or not.
Yes.
Yes.
And I walk in the mosque and I say my
No,
prayers.
nothing wrong there.
Nothing wrong.
No.
If the imam doesn't say anything against Ahmadiyyat.
No, that is different thing. When this is just an excuse which will not satisfy your conscience. I am quite certain. It is just an excuse, nothing more. The fact is that you know that that man does not believe in Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam. If put to him, even if he is not denying vehemently and calls him bad names, still he does not believe in his imamat.
There is a big assumption there.
Where is the assumption?
The assumption is that you are implying that this particular person is denying Hazrat Mirza.
No, I'm not implying at all. The one who has not accepted Ahmadiyya,
Yes.
and the message of Ahmadiyyat has spread everywhere and everybody knows of it, that it is an automatic conclusion. There is no assumption. Why don't you ask such an imam?
Does that mean
Before, when you know it is not an Ahmadiyya mosque,
Yes.
when you know the attitude of all the sects of Islam other than Ahmadis towards Ahmadiyya, don't you know that?
Yes.
And you are giving them this right of not knowing what you are. You know their attitude,
Yes.
and they don't know you. This is very strange. I mean, how are you duping yourself? This is why I said, what is essential is to be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. Don't construct excuses. If you are honest and true to yourself, you cannot conceive of any Muslim imam being an imam of a mosque and yet not rejecting Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam unless he has not heard the message. In that case, you know it is not an Ahmadiyya mosque, you should deliver the message to him and find out the reaction. This would be exactly a situation like somebody who has not heard of Islam and who is a pagan. He is innocent. Can you make him your leader in religious affairs? Must you?
No.
Why not? He has not heard of Rasulullah's name, he has not heard of Islam, he is quite innocent. Why don't you choose him as your leader?
But just that, I'll be very honest with you. I just feel I have a guilty conscience because I live only hardly 10 steps from the mosque there. And while people are coming from far to say their prayers there, me as a Muslim, I shouldn't go there 10 steps to say my prayers.
That is not 10 steps to light, it is 10 steps to darkness. If you truly believe in Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam, that is the most important question. What is his position in your view? Is he not an appointed leader by Allah who was predicted by Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Or is he? That is the point. What do you think?
Well, Huzur.
No Huzur. Allah first. Keeping Allah in view, answer me this question. Do you believe in him as the true Imam Mahdi, which was being expected for the last 14 centuries, which was sent by Allah as predicted by Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is he not that or is he?
Well, he would be wrong, yes.
Huh?
He would be wrong.
No, just a minute. If that is decided?
Yes, that's decided.
Now go to that Imam who lives just 10 steps ahead from you and ask him, if Imam Mahdi comes and some body does not accept him as the Imam, Can anybody say prayer behind him? What is his position? Ask him, and then let me know the answer. He would be closer to the truth than you are at the moment. Because ask any Muslim Imam this question, that if you truly believe that Imam Mahdi has come and you have got initiated at his hands as the Imam Mahdi, can you say your prayer behind anyone who has not accepted him? They would say anyone who has not accepted him is not a Muslim. That would be their declaration. So you're not accepting that declaration in their favor. You first experiment on this. Where has Allah told you that you must say your prayers behind those who have rejected one of my messengers? Has the Holy Quran said it anywhere in any verse?
No, it hasn't.
If you live one step from a church which also calls to Allah worship, why don't you enter that? Why doesn't your conscience bite you?
Well, Huzur, to answer that question, I have been to church and say my prayers as well, and to synagogue.
And to synagogue. This is your religion.
No, I have been to all these places because I believe...
No, now when you have become a Muslim conscientiously and honestly, would you still say your prayer in the church if it is just one step from your place of residence?
No, I don't think so.
No?
No.
Why not? Where would your conscience go? A prayer for call is made daily or in the morning in the church and you don't listen to it. Because Islam permits you to say your own prayer if you have not an imam among yourself. This is why Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam predicted that Imam Mahdi would come, when Masih would come, imamukum minkum. Then your imam would be from among you, not from outside you. This was a prediction made. Wa imamukum minkum. There was the wa added, which is an atuf, which means when the Imam Mahdi comes, that is one thing. And another explanation is that from then on, your imam will be from among yourselves. Now, that is one thing. Also, you are totally ignorant of what they believe, behind whom you want to say your prayer to establish your Muslim nature. That is what is in fact the motive force. That nobody should pick you out as something different. While they themselves declare, ask first the sect of that Imam. What is your sect? And then I can produce for you the evidence of the leaders of that sect, that no non-believer in that sect can lead their prayer. Not only that, they go one step further. No non-believer in that sect can come to their mosque and make it filthy with his presence. No non-believer of that sect can say prayer behind them. No non-believer of that sect can be married into them. So why are you violating their rules? If you are free at liberty to violate your own rules, at least have regards for their rules. This is their set course of conduct. They don't want Ahmadis to say their prayer behind them. They don't want Ahmadis to enter their mosque. Not only to mention the Ahmadis, they don't want any other follower of the sect according to their official declarations. Not according to the idiosyncrasies of some one person. According to their official declaration, this is exactly their view. This is why people who entered Sunni mosques while they happen to be Shias have been slaughtered in the history of Islam. People who believed in raising one finger while saying Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, this index finger, have been, after they went to a mosque where they did not raise the fingers, people of that sect noticed the absence of the rising finger and they cut the finger off, and the vice versa happened. So when this is their own belief, why do you violate their conduct plus your own? Do you want to create disorder everywhere? Both in the Ahmadiyyat as well as outside Ahmadiyyat? if they come to know that you are an Ahmadi. In some mosques, you will be thoroughly beaten, that I assure you. And turned out in total disgrace. Unless you say, I am not an Ahmadi. So you are then running a very great risk.
Do I have to say to them whether I'm an Ahmadi?
Of course you have to. If you know the truth and you don't spread it, then it is only a partial truth. It is not a total truth with you at all.
So what you are...
Why have you not to follow Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, or have you? Or you don't think it's necessary? He declared his faith despite the fact that it annoyed everyone else around him and created such hostility that they killed his followers, they maltreated him, they exercised all sorts of atrocities against the Muslims, and yet he would not stop. He was rejected at one place, he went out. Why was he forced to go out to Taif when he was rejected by Meccans? And then so thoroughly beaten that the blood was flowing from every pore of his body when he returned from there. And you still call yourself a follower of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and want to reconcile yourself with darkness and say, no, I don't have to declare myself. Unless you declare yourself, how would Ahmadiyyat spread? How would the message of Muslim Islam get around? And how will Islam become victorious in the end? You know, their concept of Islam is distorted. You don't realize this. Totally distorted. They have become intolerant. They attribute things to Islam which cannot flourish in this world. They cannot survive. And this is why Islam is being, looked down upon by the whole entire outside world. And they're laughing at Islam. Because these are the mullahs who are responsible for this distortion in Islam. You consider their views, ask his view about what angels are, how God is, what are the qualities of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then in each answer you will find the difference between Ahmadiyyat and this Mullahism. So you're supporting that Islam which is not in fact capable of survival in this world. And the only Islam which can survive, you're withholding your support from that by hiding yourself out of some fears or out of something I don't know. So, any other question, please? Yes. From ladies' side first.
Zur, this is a question from the ladies' side. One lady wants this point to be clarified, that the order of the verses in the Holy Quran as they were revealed and the order in which they are to be found today is different. What is the hikmat and philosophy in it?
Yes, that I'll explain, but first of all tell me, why have you withdrawn the privilege from the ladies to speak directly on microphone and convey their questions to us in their own voices? Fun? But something must have happened because they are left without an opportunity to speak when they please, and it's an hindrance in the way. So they are not encouraged to write and send letters. They find it difficult. But while the microphone was there, they could go any time to the microphone. In fact, when I met a representative body of the ladies, I asked them why they have ceased asking questions and ceased participating in this. They said because that opportunity has been withdrawn, that facility has been withdrawn from us. Is it very difficult, is it? No problem, I hope.
I don't know the reason why it was taken away.
Nobody seems to know. Yes. So, now your question, please. Now the lady's question. I will come to that, yes. The lady has asked that why the order of revelation of the Holy Quran was different from the order of the verses in which they are arranged now, or were arranged at the time of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam at his bidding. And we find it in the same order now. Not only the verses, but also the surahs have been changed. Most of the surahs which were revealed in Mecca were the earliest surahs, of course. They have been put at the end, in the last para. And most of the surahs which were revealed later on during the Medina stay, they have been brought forward, and you begin with those, except for Surah Fatiha, which was revealed early at Mecca. But Surah Baqarah is a Madani surah which was revealed after Hijrah. So all this apparent disorder is in fact based on some fundamental principle. The principle which is laid down by the Holy Quran, and it speaks of it itself, not that I am putting words in the mouth of the Holy Quran, is that whenever an emergency arises or a situation demands some declaration, right at that time the relevant verse is revealed. So an order is demanded by the things what are happening at the time of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For instance, when Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told to give the message of the Quran, of Islam to everybody, the immediate society around him was the society of idolaters. Now, if he had started talking, or Allah had started revealing things concerning the Christians and the Jews and the other religions, it would be apparently irrelevant to the situation. He is declaring a great message from Allah, delivering a great message from Allah, and the society says, you are talking of something which you don't understand. It does not apply to us. So what would be the right way to do things? Would be first to deliver a message declaring the unity of God and giving arguments against idolatry and pointing out its evils in this world and in the life to come and so on. So this is exactly what we find in the first surahs which were revealed. Now when Hazrat Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to Mecca, that was a time when Jews and Christians were appropriately addressed because they were found in that vicinity. And this order is exactly according to the demand of the situation. Now, but really speaking, what is much more important is Judaism and Christianity as compared to idolatry, which has no basis. So when order of preference would come from the point of view of subject and the lasting value, then those religions should be mentioned first, which have a lasting value and which have a sort of permanency about them, and which have their validity established, and which draw their inspiration from Allah, who is the source of all light. So that should have been the order as far as the preference subject-wise is concerned. So this is why the Holy Quran adopted that preference for all the people to come. I mean, that is one way, but there are so many other factors which have played their part in the order of verses, and it is a strange thing, and this is a miracle of the Holy Quran, that as far as the events of the world which were to take place later on, and the events of the world which took place earlier, as far as that goes, the Holy Quran keeps that order of time. Now, and it does not contradict with previous two orders. For instance, when you recite the Holy Quran to begin with Alif Lam Mim Zalikal Kitabu La Raiba Fihi, it speaks of Allah and then the prophecy and how it all began, that is the religion took shape on earth. And then the first mention is found of Adam, who was the first. And then religions are declared almost in their order of coming or in their importance. but historically they are taken up. And at the end, when you reach Kul huwallahu ahad, Kul a'udhu birabbil falaq, Kul a'udhu birabbin nas, you find that not only the many isms are mentioned there, which were to create disorder in the future world, but also the communist philosophy is discussed categorically and rejected categorically. And the way they would play havoc with the world and what seeds of discontent and dissatisfaction they would sow in the minds of the people and how they will go about it, and capitalism and their war with leftist society, all that has been mentioned in the end surahs. Not only in these three, but read the last chapter, starting from Surah Amma. They're all congested. Things which are predicted about the future, the discovery of atom bomb, how it will punish the wrongdoers of the time, that is also mentioned in this surah. So the earlier surahs do not only speak of idolatry, which was a relevant subject, and reject idolatry, but also in a language which was not understood by that people, speaks of the things to come in the latter days. And as such, they have to be placed there in the end, because that's much more important. A few Meccans, what they believed and what they practiced, has nothing in importance than the entire world of today. So the same surahs speak of the end time, the man as appearing in future, and his philosophies and his infights and so on and so forth. So because that was to happen later on, so they had to be mentioned later on. So the order is chronological, starting from Adam, or the beginning of religion, starting from God and his concept and revelation and things. Then Adam is mentioned, then earlier prophets are mentioned, and how people treated them. So it's a beautiful continuous story of things as they happened. So this order could not be kept. If the order of revelation was to be maintained, then the entire beautiful order of subject and things would disappear. So this is why Allah revealed things with a different view, keeping the people of the time and the events of time in view, and then reorganized the Holy Quran in a manner as to give it an eternal character, to make it a timeless book for every man to read and find it well ordered according to his requirements. So now this is your turn.
In some Islamic societies today, there is discussion and debate on the subject of taxation, as is known to the material world. Does the Jamaat have any defined views on the subject, and how do we relate it to zakat?
Taxation is the right of the government to run itself. This is the fundamental philosophy of taxation. The government has some responsibilities to discharge and creates order and looks, theoretically, not that actually governments do that, but theoretically they are supposed to dispense justice and see that rights are kept and looked after, and one group of people with certain rights does not interfere with another group of people with certain rights, or the community having certain rights does not interfere with individual rights, and so on and so forth. All this requires coercion, because a state is not built on a voluntary commitment basis. So coercion must go with the concept of state. And for coercion you have to have a police, you have to have an army to defend the state against other philosophies and other groups and other countries, geographical divisions and so on. So that is also an expenditure. Then dispensation of justice requires an organization. You have to have expenditure there. Then the common weal is to be looked after. The community has certain rights as such, and they should be served by the community, and the government is representative of the community. So the taxation system is a direct result of a state. You can't consider a state without taxation. And because the different states require different things and they are situated at different levels of development, so taxation of state cannot be defined to suit every state. So no definition can be given for any taxation which would suit the requirements of every state, because it all depends on how much responsibility a state has taken on its shoulders. Islam defines certain fundamental responsibilities. Those responsibilities, if met by the income of zakat, then it's well and good. But if not met, the responsibilities will be met, and Islam permits the state to levy taxes to the extent that they are able to discharge their responsibilities towards the state. State, that is the government towards the state. They are two different things. When I talk of this taxation, I mean a government levies taxes for the purpose of serving the state. And that is not only permissible, but it becomes imperative in Islam, because the objectives of governments are mentioned very clearly and laid down. And no check is mentioned as far as their earning is concerned, only if by way of discharging their duty they have to levy taxes. They have every right to do so. Because things are changeable from time to time, from situation to situation, from economic development of one state at one time and from the economic development of the same state at another time. All these various factors come into play, so no definite formula could be given for a tax. Now this tax, zakat, has a religious character, while Islamic concept of state is much wider than just the Muslim concept of religious duties and obligations. Islam mentions non-Muslims in the state and admonishes the Muslim state to look after their needs and to dispense justice. So that shows that they have also some responsibilities which have not been covered by zakat. So to claim that zakat is the comprehensive system of taxation in Islam which covers everything is totally wrong. Otherwise, what would be the position of the non-Muslims in the state? They would be just at the receiving end of the benefits and not at the discharging end of responsibilities. So it's obviously wrong. Any other question? We have yet time. Or shall you say an early prayer? Now, in fact, the time of the prayer has to be changed a little bit. I am hesitant to bring the time of Maghrib earlier because of the difficulty people say from coming from offices and going to the houses and then having a little siesta and then coming to the mosque. It requires some time. And but unfortunately, it cannot be deferred for long. And now the time difference between the sunset and the Maghrib prayer, as we have set it, is quite huge. Huh? Almost 45. And this is beyond the permission level. So I think we better start saying the Maghrib prayer. What time? Will it be 6:30? 6:30, and then it will give us some time to will it be very difficult for people to reach here at 6:30, because we have a play of Maghrib time which we can utilize. Truly speaking, as long as the time of Isha does not begin, the Maghrib time does not end. This is the view of one of the orthodox, not only one, but I think more than one of the orthodox jurisprudence. Because this is the fundamental difference between the the Wahhabis, Ahl-Hadith on the one hand, and some other sects on the other, and Hanafis and Shafi'is. I think it is the Shafi'is who insist on saying prayer immediately after the sunset. But whoever it is, this is not important. Two of the main fundamental groups of jurisprudence disagree on the time period of Maghrib, where it begins, they agree, but where it ends, they differ. Some think that Shafaq means, that is Duluk Shams, or Shafaq as it is described in traditions, the red part of the dusk. If that is true, then the red part disappears quickly, not very quickly, but within say 15 or 20 minutes of the sunsets. So those who believe in Shafaq to be the red part of the dusk, they say the prayer must be said immediately, and otherwise you will be late and behind time. The others say that Shafaq, in fact, is not only the red part, but the white thread, as it's said in the Holy Quran. And they have a point with which Ahmadis also agree fully. They say that the morning prayer time is mentioned in the Holy Quran, and it is said when the dark part is differentiated from the white part, that is the time of the prayer. So they say the Shafaq, according to Allah, is not the red part, but the light lingering light, white lingering light, is also a part of Shafaq. So as long as the dusk is not completely overwhelmed by the following darkness, and you have the white part visible, that is still the Maghrib time. And Ahmadis agree with that. And we have another supporting evidence that where two times of prayer, the times of two prayers meet, there you can say them with Jama. You can say them together. Where there is a no man's land in between, you can't bring them together. So this is why Zuhr and Asr can be said together, and Maghrib and Isha can be said together. That means there is no parting line in between. While Fajr cannot be said together with Zuhr, and Asr cannot be said together with Maghrib, because sunset is the parting line. So in between there are two groups in fact. One between sunrise and sunset, and their time run into each other without a separation. So after the sunset, the time of Fajr and Maghrib runs into Isha without separation. It is a very thin separating line. This is why they can be said together. So keeping this in view, because this is a declared official view of Jamaat Ahmadiyya, we can, although we also say that it is preferable to say prayer in the early part. This is common with every Muslim. No difference on this. Every Muslim jurisprudence school, disagreeing in details, also admit and agree on this, that although there is a time lapse yet and difference of opinion, yet it is always better to say the prayer as early as you can possibly, except for some situations where Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has himself directed that prayers should be delayed. For instance, during the summer heat, according to Huzur Akram Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's instruction, Asr was delayed until the day became cooler. So that was again a principle of the common facility. So Muslim scholars have drawn this principle from this saying and some others, that Islam wants the facility to be created for the common man, not difficulty. It is a religion of practical values and ease and comfort, not imposing unnecessary hardships. So in prayers too, this is looked after, permission for joining two prayers, permission for halving the number of rakats, permission for tayammum. All this is governed by that principle of facility. So I am explaining all this not to justify what I am going to recite, but just to tell you, inform you, because I know I could just decide the time and you would be satisfied, of course, but by way of teaching, because there are people here who belong to the new generation who don't know these things in detail, so it's a good opportunity for me to teach them as to the principles of Muslim jurisprudence. So in view of that, we can say the Maghrib prayer till its belated time, which would be about an hour from the sunset. Until then, we could still postpone it and be within the time of Maghrib. But to be on the safe side, I should call it the maximum limit to be 45 minutes, because we are not used to delay the Maghrib very far. But I think 45 minutes should be acceptable. It is just situated beyond the halfway line. So that we have reached already. There is absolutely no room for further delay. So the point is, shall we bring it by 15 minutes gaps or half an hour gaps? Now this will be decided by the common facility. This is why I explained. If people here in London who want to come, and who do come generally as they can afford, cannot reach the Maghrib prayer, if we put it, say, to 15 minutes past 6, then I should prefer to delay it as far as possible. Or half past 6, even if that is very difficult, I should try to be late reaching at that time. So this is why I am asking your advice now. Anybody who wants to say a word, please.
There is one other thing.
Yes.
Sir, the tradition of Holy Prophet is that Maghrib prayer, the timing is very short, because it's after the sunset.
You came late, unfortunately,
Oh, I see.
for the Maghrib prayer as well as for my answers, which I have already delivered. I told the differing views of the fundamental schools of jurisprudence. And out of the four very important ones, two of the top ones differ on this issue. And one of them, I told them, I don't remember whether it was Shafis or Hanafis, but one of them believe that Maghrib time is extended to the white of the dusk, not to the red of the dusk. If it is the red of the dusk, then it is shorter. If it is the white of the dusk, then it is extended beyond 45 minutes. So although both agree that it should be said earlier the better, but it's not an imperative. It is just advice, like mustahab, things are better if you do at such and such time. But as far as the law is concerned, you are permitted to extend your Maghrib prayer beyond the red into the white of the dusk.
Does Imam Hanbal say anything about it, sir?
I don't remember exactly. If had I remembered, I should have mentioned. But these are the fundamental Muslim jurisprudence I'm talking about, and they are divided on this issue. And as far as the Ahmadis are concerned, we agree with the second view, that is, the white should be considered as the dictating point for prayer timings which are related to dusk. because in the morning Allah has made himself very clear about it, and that's quite enough for us. That tahajjud time ends at the break of the dawn, which is the appearance of the white, not appearance of the red. So whatever is in the morning is exactly the picture of the Maghrib prayer, because that is in a way similar to the morning prayer. That is pre-sunrise and that is post-sunset. So the Ahmadiyya view is exactly this, and this has been established for long.